Hi, this is Dr. Jones, and this is an assignment that you can collect your own data for as opposed to looking in the textbook, and you will need to use Excel and find yourself a browser that can also access Yahoo Finance. So you will need to use a computer on this, unless of course on your phone you are so good that you can bring up Excel and access data and download it and create the charts, etc., etc., etc. So assuming that that's not the case, then here's what we're going to do. Go to your browser and you need to access Yahoo Finance. That is finance.yahoo.com. Go there, and in the top I want you to enter the first 3 letters of your last name. So my name is Jones, J-O-N. And then I want you to choose an actual equity from the list that you're given from Yahoo Finance. Now, I've already gone to Jones Energy, and I have seen, because what we're trying to do is a forecasting problem here, I have seen that there's some messed up stuff with their data. They were a penny stock for a good period of time, which means they traded at or around $1 per share. So any change in what happens to them is going to be a huge change on your chart and make it very difficult for you to forecast. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to choose instead, we're not going to do Great Jones because, and you don't have to choose something like mine with Jones. It does not have to have your name in it. In fact, many or most of you would not be able to find a stock with your last name in it. But if you put the last 3 letters of your name in there, you should find something that comes up. If you have difficulty with that, just get in touch with me, let me know, and we'll try to find something out. But the last 3 letters, the first 3 letters of your last name will suggest some things. Futures and ETFs are not good for you to choose typically because, again, they're going to be quite volatile out there, and this was a terrible one. And private stocks do not have stocks out there. They will have value, and the companies have value, but they don't actually have any trading stocks. So in my situation, I would be like, well, darn, there's a problem. I'd have to do something else. But I can use the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and that's what I'm going to use to create this. So you'll be able to find something. And if you cannot get it by putting in the first 3 letters of your last name, you need to get in touch with me and we'll work it out. So I click on that, and it takes me to the summary page for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. I'm going to go there and I'm going to click on historical data. That allows me to pull up the stock prices for this equity right here. Now, Dow Jones Industrial Average is not in and of itself an actual equity. It is an index of equities. We're going to treat it as if it were an equity on its own, just for the purposes of this problem solution. Now, I want you to select frequency is weekly, and I want you to select that we are going to do for 1 year. Done. Then apply. So I chose its historical prices for the last year. You do that by your pull down menu, 1 year. You do it by weekly so that you have 52 data points is what we're going to use, at least to start off with. Then click on apply. Once you click on apply, you'll note that it chooses weekly data for you right here. Now you could simply capture like this, and you could actually download the data if you chose to do so, and you can cut and paste that back into Excel. On the other hand, you could just click download data right here. It will allow you to open it into Microsoft Excel, and this is the kind of chart that you get. Now, I'm going to rearrange this a little bit so you can see a little easier. These are numbers, and we are going to leave them at 2 decimal points, and you should do that with your numbers as well. Volume is a number, but we don't care about that. We won't be using that anyway. So here's what you would want to do. You need to keep this number right here. That number right there is the closing number. And you want to be able to keep it because you can use it to be able to do your forecasts. So delete the ones after it, delete open, high, and close, and all you're left with is date and close. Okay? Now, I want you to take a look at what you have here. We don't need an index. We're actually going to use these figures here for our calculations. But you need to be sure that when you've downloaded your data that you have the oldest numbers first. So 9/18/2017 is there, goes to 9/17/2018 here. Now you don't have to have every 7 days because we're looking at on a weekly basis. So now we need to put up 3 week, and we need to put up weighted 3 week. Okay, now let's make these all say, I don't care. It doesn't matter, it's what you're comfortable with. I'm going to make them all 12, size 12 on there. The reason being that I'm just trying to make it so it's easy to see everything out there. So now we need to do a forecast. And you do the forecast for a 3-week one, just like you see on page 114 in your text. What you're going to do is average out the 3 prior weeks so that you can see, where would you assume that this stock was going to be going to. So we're going to, you could do a lot of different ways. You can do at average and then highlight those and come up with that number. Or you can do sum divided by 3, and you essentially come up with the same number. Either one of those works, and it really doesn't matter which one you use. So let's copy this down then. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to go, because we're doing 3-week averages, I want you to go, pardon me, I didn't mean to go out those last 2. You want to go out one more, but you don't want to go any more than that because then you'll start running out of numbers. So we are going to assume, what could we assume September 24th's number would be? We don't have an actual date, an actual number there. That's not showing up. So what do we forecast that 9/24 would be in the future? And that'll be on a 3-week average. On a weighted 3-week average, we're going to do the same thing, except this is just a little more convoluted, and you are going to have to use the divided bys here. So we are going to open these calculations, and then we'll take this times 1 plus this times 2 plus this times 3, and then add those 3 sets of numbers together, and then divide by 6, because we have 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 3 is 6. So we're in effect taking 6 numbers and averaging them together. So that's what we're going to do. And then we will create this as a number as well. Okay. Now notice this number is a little different from this number right here, but that's because we have weighted this number more than this and this number more than this. So we give more weight to the more recent data. This number here gives equal weight to each of the last 3 weeks. This weighted 3 week gives less weight to the first of the 3 weeks and more weight to the last of the 3 weeks. And so let's see what the differences are here as we go down all the way to there. Now, I'm just doing these two for fun because it's really not that important. We're just seeing where we think it's going to go compared to where we're actually at. Now, here's the last thing that we need to do. The last thing that we're going to do is actually create a chart. I want you to create a chart of each of these 3 sets of data, just like we have it in the textbook on page 116. So you just highlight all of those data points, and then you want to go over to creating a line chart, and you can do that by going to formulas and blah 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 over to the different kinds of charts and formulas, reviews, data, etc. I'm going to create it. I've already set this up here so that I have the ability to just pull down a 2D chart. Please do not do 3D charts and markers and stuff like that. Just do a 2D, simple 2D line chart. Now we need to make it to where you can actually read these a little bit better than what you can. So create a larger chart out there. We are going to also need to change what our data is, because notice it's got these two as data points, but it's got these here, both of them, as if they were both of these as if they were dates. And so that's what confuses all this right down in here. And so we need to go to select data, and you want your columns to be a little bit different. So we're going to change our columns here, and just this one is the change. And notice obviously immediately it makes a change here on that one. We need to add the series name of close, and the value is this one here. Now take a look. This chart makes a little bit more sense. Let's change our colors to make it a little bit easier to look at. That's not what I wanted to do. I want to format not a data point, but I want to format a whole series. So let's go down to select this line, and let's change, instead of gray, let's make it red, and let's change this one to make it green, and this one black. Oops, get the wrong thing. Try it again. We'll get there. Did not mean to hit the green one. There we go. That's not going to work, but I get closer. It doesn't matter which colors are. I'm just trying to get good contrast here. Now, as you're looking at this, notice that you have a nice set of contrast for your chart. You can see actually what you're looking for. The close is the actual data. That's where our actual data is. And so you can see where we were, and you can see what our averages are. The 3-week average would have lagged a bit as to where things were going. It would give us an idea, but it would actually be a little lower because of how the Dow Jones was moving. Notice, though, that it's higher over here because it took a while for this lag effect to come around, that we'd had a big drop at this point. So in 1 week, we had, in a couple of weeks period of time, we had a big drop in the value of the Dow Jones. And then it goes back to actually lagging behind just a little bit. So we would assume, as we were looking at this, we would assume that the forecasts here are pretty good, but they're always going to undervalue it, so we might shoot over. So you might have an alpha on here that was actually a little greater in order to make up for the fact that it was falling behind just a little bit. About the only times it touches and it's about the same is when you're going to find yourself with a drop or an increase of some, and then it'll fall. Notice, however, one other thing. Notice how good both the 3-week and the weighted 3-week are aligning together, so that you don't have a lot of volatility in these, and they actually are tracking pretty closely together. If you want, you can make some changes here on this to make it easier to read. Notice we never go down below 22,000. So instead of starting at 20,000, we could go to 22,000. Just hit enter and move that back. And you could get even a better view of tracking how closely the forecasts match what you're doing. If you would, do the same things that I've done, but with a different stock, obviously. And then I want you to upload the file into the assignment portal, just your Excel file. Name it with your last name and then your first name, so that I've got those two things: your last name, your first name, and it's an Excel file. Please do not do this in Word or anything else. Use Excel and upload the file so that it's got the date column from oldest to newest, the closing stock price, the 3-week moving average, and the weighted 3-week moving average, and then the chart that shows those. I don't care if you use the same colors. Just make sure that there's enough contrast between the 3 sets of data that it's easy to view. Just upload that Excel file, and if you've done it correctly, you'll get excellent pointage out of this. Take care. Talk to you later.